What if life's biggest interruptions aren't asking you to be positive, but simply to stay curious? This week, we're talking about one small question that's been quietly changing the way I move through unexpected moments. Is this a lesson or is it a blessing? Because sometimes life follows the plan and sometimes it turns into triangle, purple, and pancake. Maybe the goal isn't controlling what happens next. Maybe it's learning how to meet it. Hello, friends, and welcome to Radical Joy, the weekly practice of fighting for your light. In a world tuned to worry, this is our space to find a different signal, to discover the grounded, defiant, and yes, radical power of choosing joy. This is a vital reminder you are never alone. Dial 988 in the U.S. for the Mental Health and Suicide Crisis Hotline. It's a lifeline anytime. This is Season 4. Let's begin. I love coming to the microphone with an idea and just sort of letting it take us where it goes. I keep a list of these in my notes app on my phone whenever I'm in the train or waiting for something to happen or whatever. If something just happens to light up my brain, I try to put it in there so we can talk about it later whenever I get back in front of the mic and the camera. Today, it's lessons and blessings. We're just going to lean into this whole Alabama vernacular bit. Lessons and blessings. If you can't find both, make sure you cling to one. Whenever things go a little bit differently than expected, those are often opportunities for learning and or seeing the best in something. Now, I try my dead level to be real good at this because the unexpected and I are very close cousins. I will have an idea about how things are supposed to play out, and I will live my life as best as I know how. Bebop, boobop down the street, and I think XYZ is what I can expect out of the day's unwinding. Lo and behold, the X, Y, and Z have become triangle, purple, and pancake. So it used to get me real twisted up. The unexpected would sort of feel like a rain cloud over my day because you do and expect this to happen. If then, if I do this, then this is the expected outcome. Absolutely. I think that's just good reasoning. I think that is just common horse sense if you want to get right down to it. And I think there's also an idea in this, an element, if you will, of adulting that says if it can go a little bit differently or a hell of a lot differently, you should probably be prepared for that as well. And a way to do that, I think, is to always look for one of those two, if not both elements, in everything that tends to go a little bit differently than what was originally planned. What is the lesson? What is the blessing? And even for my folks out there who don't necessarily prescribe to a faith, if you're not a Christian, if you're not whatever, that's okay. I used to get a little bit tense about using this kind of terminology around folks because of the way some people feel about it. And I'm okay with that. So, well, you should be dedicated. Yes, and I am. Don't get me wrong. It's not anything like that. Also, I want to make sure that every space that I open for all remains welcome feeling to all. So don't think just because I change my vernacular because I'm in a different setting means that I feel any differently or any less passionately about it. Great. What is the lesson? What is the blessing? What is it I can take away from this that is the good part? If that makes you feel better, I personally, the English major in me loves a rhyme. If you can make it rhyme or if you can give me alliteration or assonance, I'm here for it. Don't get it twisted. If you can give me some sort of wordplay, you and I are going to be friends. You've already gained 5 cool points right out of the gate. So lesson and blessing, honest to goodness, just the way that they're pronounced is the difference of one letter. When something goes awry, what do I do? How do I frame this so that it can be something helpful? I think that a lot of us are wound really tightly, and I say us, capital U, are wound very tightly because of the way the world is working. It seems that there are a lot of powers at play that continue to sort of make life a little bit more complicated than it necessarily needs to be. Okay, great. If we know this, We must frame our lives in such a way so that we can move through it in a way where we are continuing to grow and glean something helpful or nurturing, fortifying from what it is we're doing. Okay. Not everything is going to be a walk in the park. Not everything is supposed to be. My gym rats out there know that the growth comes from the struggle. If I'm underneath however many weights, I want to make sure that I push as hard as I possibly can. And the last repetition needs to be so awful, it needs to bring me to failure. And for a guy who spends as much time in the gym as I do, not a boast, I'm just saying that's where a lot of my friends are here. And so I really enjoy the time I get to spend there. That should be something that I think about and apply to almost everything in my life. Is this a lesson or is this a blessing? Okay, so how do we frame that in just about every situation? Wonderful. Let's start with the gym because that's where we were. Can you smell the sweat, the rust, the clank of the weights against the metal of the rack? Fantastic. Drawing a very vivid picture here. What is the lesson? I am working out with a buddy of mine who is clearly significantly larger and through historical precedent has been significantly stronger. Wonderful. So, whenever we are lifting and he has a certain amount of ungodly weight upon the bar, do I get under the bar at the same amount of weight, hoping to at least attempt? Or do I take off some of that weight, knowing that it puts me at a place where I am pushing myself, but I am not trying to injure myself? What is the lesson here? The lesson for me is put it at a weight that is challenging for you. Put that behemoth behind you so he can be your spot and make sure you get your gains out of that. Just because you don't work at the same level doesn't mean you aren't working, okay? For some, the capacity is going to be greater just from the simple fact that they have been at it longer. Perhaps they are just better suited for it, or the way that they are made gives them a better opportunity for success and progress. Great. I'm not going to let that hang over me like a shadow. What I'm going to do is work smarter so that I can continue to work at the top of my capacity and ability for as long as I possibly can and use that person for their benefit in order to stay safe and continue to move toward my goals. Great. What is the blessing? I've got somebody bigger, stronger, more experienced than me who may or may not call me ugly names or give me a little bit of hassle during the entire process because they know that I'm working to get where they are. And it comes from a place of love and recognition because they were also at a similar place in an earlier time in their journey towards a similar destination. That is the blessing. Someone is there to watch over me and to make sure that I'm careful and smart, but that I don't forget that I still have to work hard to get where I'm going. You know what that other blessing is? Taking a look in that mirror when I walk by and see all those things bumping and bulging in all the right spots because I'm doing the work with someone that I know is watching out for me. There are levels to all of this, and we can continue to grow, even if it feels as though we are not where we want to be. Lesson and blessing. The other day, I walked back to my apartment complex. I've just come from the grocery. I've got ground beef in the bag, some fruit. I want to say I've got a treat or two in there because I'm a grown man. And if I want a treat, by golly gosh, I'm going to get it from myself. And I get into the elevator after waving hello to the folks who are in the restaurant in the lobby. And I push the button for 3. And the car starts to rise, and there's a chunk and a shuffle in the whole car. And then all of a sudden, now this has happened before. Like it's an older building. The elevator is relatively new. The renovations are really, really nice. This elevator has personality, shall we say. And this has not been the first time that I've experienced this kashuff in the car as it makes its way up to the third. However, today that kashuff was also accompanied by a stop, and all of the lights go out in the car. I push the other buttons, I push the bell, I do all of the things, and there is no power to the inside of the car whatsoever. So I push the emergency button. I'm expecting the bell to ring and embarrass me in my building because everybody knows me. You know, I'm the guy that's always wearing something stupid and I'm always saying hello and I'm always loud and obnoxious because that's just how I live my life. That's how I move through this life. Luckily, there's no ringing bell to like draw attention to me. It puts me in contact with the operator. First, you start speaking Dutch, and I'm doing my very best. And then it's like, okay, look, sorry, I don't know the words I need to tell you. So let me just communicate this for you in English as well. And so we did that. And she said, great, if you hold tight, she said the technician is in your city. So he will be there shortly. Are you okay? Is everything all right? I was like, I'm fine. I don't suffer from claustrophobia. I'm not it's just warm in here. It's hot. We're just finishing up a heat wave. I was like, oh my God, now what's going to happen? And so I sit there and I'm like, oh man, okay. So the ground beef is getting warm. The fruit, of course, is fine. The treat may be melting a little bit. I don't know. It's for the most part, it's just me and in a small enclosed space, and there's no air circulation. There's just nothing moving around. I'm not claustrophobic. I'm not scared. I'm not uncomfortable or suffering. It's just inconvenient. Okay. Plus, when you add that whole like, I don't know how long I'm going to be here element to it, it can get a little frustrating. So, what is the lesson? Well, in this case, I'm very fortunate because I don't suffer from things like claustrophobia. I'm not pressed for time. I don't have to worry about anything in the bag going bad right away, that the money that I just spent at the grocery is going to go to waste. What I have is a very unique opportunity to perhaps work on something since I have no other choice. I can read a book on my phone, or I can, look, I'm close enough to the Wi Fi. I can make a video of this experience for my social media. Fantastic. Not only that, I on TikTok have Dutch Donderdag and Dutch Dinsdag, which are 2 days of the week where I do the films completely in Dutch language. And it just happened to be Thursday. Perfect. So I am getting my script together and preparing it, and I'm reading back and forth, and I'm making the clips and making the cuts. And by the time that I finish with all of the scripting and the editing and the captions and this, that, and the other, and get the thing posted, so I hear someone on top of the car. And in the next 4 to 5 minutes, the car is descending back to the lobby. The doors open, and I am out. And it's fine. And I walk to the other end of the building and I take the stairs up to my apartment. So I'm not stuck in the lobby. It's not that I can't reach my room. The lesson is okay, everything is still fine. I'm okay. I'm safe. I am literally surrounded by people who either know me or love me or both. I am not in a precarious situation. There are no exposed wires. It's fine. It's just inconvenient for me. For me. And what is the blessing? What do I take out of this? Well, sometimes I find it hard to focus whenever I am free and just running around to do these kinds of things until the very last minute. I don't know if that's a personality trait or perhaps what someone would call a divergence from the neurotypical. I'm not calling either one. I have not been diagnosed. What I will say is whenever I am given no choices, I try to be productive. And that is the blessing that I did. In that hour, I got all of that finished, and it was something new and fresh. And honestly, it was funny and distracting from something that could have been, moderately upsetting. You pay X amount of euro per month to have this really nice living experience, and you get stuck in the elevator for an hour in one of the warmest days and the warmest months in the country history. Hmm. But there are lessons and there are blessings, and you walk away from it. You're like, and I walked up to the third floor, which in Europe means that's 4 flights because the first floor, like the ground floor, they literally call it ground floor, and then everything else is 1, 2, 3. So even though I am on the third floor by American ways of thinking, or perhaps, other places in the world, that is the fourth floor. So I get myself on those stairs and I hike my happy ass up with uh, food in tow. And I get in and I'm just like, okay, this could have been much, much worse. I was productive. Everything was fine. And I'm only half melted. So that's okay. Everything in the bag is still okay. It goes in the fridge and it's fine. I've been eating the meat. Knock on wood. We haven't had any issues thus far. And all in all, it's another fun story to be able to tell. I got in touch with the management company. I said, hey, this is what happened. I want to be regional about it. I also want to say, let's get this fixed, whatever's going on, because this is not an isolated incident. And we've been having a lot of issues with this in some really, really hot weather with 4 floors in the building. Super cool. They've already gotten back to me and it's all wonderful. Another lesson that I'm learning, it moved me to a point where if I'd only been there for a few minutes, I may not have even contacted anyone at all because it wasn't that large of an imposition. And now that I've been in there an hour, now that I have had the summer that I've had and had the conflicts with friends that I've had and need to talk about that plainly, directly, kindly, and looking for a way forward and or solution or resolution. Great. Now I can do that. I can reach out and say, this is what happened. I don't think this is okay. Kindly, respectfully, and I just want to make sure that you know about this. It wasn't just an imposition. This is something that affects the rest of the building. So I don't know what this is going to achieve by telling you, except just for information purposes. So there you have it. That is what I have to share. And they've already contacted me. They're like, we're so sorry this happened. Thank you for telling us. We'll make sure that we stay on top of this so we won't have to worry about this any further. It's like, wonderful. Great. Lessons and blessings. Everything that looks weird on the outside eventually turns into something that can be learned from or flipped on its rear so that it is something that actually can be positive. I know this sounds unrealistic. I'm not saying that every single episode that you're going to have like this is going to be like this. While we're talking on that, I think that'd be a great way to go. If you have a loved one who is suffering with an illness, there are so many lessons and blessings from a situation like that, though I would not call their experience a blessing. Okay. I want to draw attention to this and put a spotlight on it right now because I have had experience with this in the past and it has been incredibly upsetting. And I know people who approach us with these kinds of mental frameworks are only trying to help us and make our lives easier when we are clearly going through something difficult. Let me give you my experience so that we might find the lesson and blessing in this while also maintaining a very wise and mindful idea of exactly who we are in that dynamic. Let's just go ahead and draw a very clear picture of what this is. Someone's grandpa is in the hospital and they are aged. We're talking octogenarian, nonagenarian, and they are riddled with cancer. And it is very clear that they are on their way off of this mortal coil. The lesson in something like this is to live every day to your fullest. The lesson in this is, oh, I am so fortunate to have had such a long time with this person I care about so deeply. The lesson is what else can I learn in the time we have left if this person is still lucid and wanting to communicate and impart wisdom before they leave this walks of life? What is there to be learned? What is there to be resolved? If it is possible, what is there to be resolved? Look for it. I think you find that the hardest hearts find their softest moments when they know that the last beats are on the horizon. May we mirror that. May we emulate that. May we internalize it so that both of us can find a place to find peace before peace is no longer an option. If this is not something you can do, I give that the space for it as well. There are certain things that happen in a life that cannot be met with forgiveness, even at the dusk of a long life. These are all lessons, and these are all things we have to watch very, very closely. I see people continuing to get older and more wizened, and that's not a thing that is good or bad. It's just a thing that happens if we're lucky. And I keep just hammering on the fact. I'm like, love it while you got it, while you're young and beautiful and vital and flexible and strong and peppy. While you're peppy, while you don't need a nap at 3 p.m. every day just to make sure that your operating system doesn't completely crash by 6:30. Please understand that day is coming for all. So while you've got it, love it, stuff it, chock it full, okay? Chock it full of good stuff. Travel, see the world, go tell that person what you think of their shoes or their eyes or their hair or their attitude. If they're inspiring, especially. Now, if they piss you off, maybe think about that. Maybe explore that a little bit more before walking up to that person saying, you know what, you can go piss up a rope. No, let's maybe pump the brakes a little on that. Live fully, understanding that sometimes giving that is not always the full living that I am encouraging here. But hey, if it is, you got my okay on that too. Now then, back to our original. Those lessons in that scenario, wonderful. The blessings in that scenario is that you get to be there for them while they are going through this, whatever this is. There may be a healing, there may be a passing. Regardless, I think it's so lovely and wonderful that you choose to spend that time with them. They may never say it. We're so happy you're here. This episode isn't here to fix you. It's simply an invitation to notice what's still available when the day doesn't unfold the way you hoped. Sometimes there's something to learn. Sometimes there's something to be grateful for. Sometimes there's a little bit of both. And sometimes all you have to do is keep asking the question. We're really, really glad you're here. If this is your first episode of Radical Joy, friends, welcome. You've picked a fantastic episode to begin joining us on the journey. If this is not your first episode, welcome back. Friends, thank you so much for spending this time with us. If something we've covered today has inspired you or motivated you or moved you, something you want to share with your friends, there's no higher compliment than liking, sharing our content with people who are important to you so that we can reach them as well. As always, friends, thank you so much for being with us, and never forget, we love y'all. I am not a therapist or a medical professional. If you're experiencing a mental health emergency, please call 988 to reach the National Crisis Lifeline. This content and other content produced by CLW Studios and affiliated partners is not therapy, and nothing in this content indicates a therapeutic relationship. Any opinions of guests on this podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of James or CLW Studios. Please consult with your therapist or seek one in your area if you're experiencing mental health symptoms. Everything in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only.